UPBOptionMillionaires.com. It is after the closing bell on Tuesday, March 7, 2017, as we put into the 8-year anniversary of this bull market. We hit our highs last week, new all-time record highs. We're pulling back a bit, and I think some of the action is a little bit concerning here for at least a short to medium term. If you look really over the last 10 trading sessions, the volatility index, market's kind of just shrugging its shoulders. We had Trump with his speech. Came out with a tweet and said, "Yay, look at, since I got elected, stock market's been doing nothing but going up." And, that's pretty much stating the fact. We hit new all-time record highs. Anybody who's called a top in this market officially on Wednesday was wrong. But if you look at the action since then, look at the trading action. We had a pullback late in the trading day on that Wednesday. Thursday of last week, we closed session lows with, a punctuation mark at the end of the trading session. We had a nice pullback. We're seeing the selling late in the trading day. Whereas, the 330 ramp capital, the inverse is happening. So it's something to keep an eye on, liquidation possibly. If you look here on Friday, same thing, late in the trading day. Pullback, pulling back. And then even yesterday, we recovered a lot of our losses. The market's been doing the buy the dippers. Hi-ho, I'm going to buy the dip. And then late in the trading day, ho-ho-ho, someone pulled the carpet out. Same thing we saw today. It looked like we were going to recover the losses that we saw early in the session. We started to, and then the carpet got pulled out in the market. We pulled back to session lows before a brief bounce late in the trading day got us back to 237 on the SPY. Certainly something to keep an eye on. As well, we're starting to see new lows beat the new highs. We saw new highs, 250 to 2 some days. Now we're seeing, 30 new highs, 60 new lows. So that's something to keep an eye on. Let's get into some charts. Hello, let's bring the charts. This is a good one here, the VIX, VXX. This officially tracks nothing now. We're basically down to zero. But again, intraday, I like to watch it because when you start to see this amp up, usually indicative of a market that might be turning. We saw it late in the trading day today. Look at this. We were just kind of the usual sell-off, ho, 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 ho. And then late in the trading day, we saw a bounce. We'll see if it continues again. Just closed flat on the session. Something to watch, of course, longer term. This is one of the most broken pieces of garbage that you'll ever find. 30,000 to $17.21 in 8 years. Actually, less than that. So just keep an eye on this here. Short term, again, intraday. But let's look at some charts. The S&P 500 ETF, the spiders. Yes, really nice move off the lows March 2009. But let's look a little closer. We had the Trump gap. I like to call it Trump gap. That's what we had last week. We had the nice gap up. We've been pulling back ever since. So if you want to get bullish on this market right here, one thing you can look at and say, all right, we filled that the Gump. Hello, Forrest Gump. No, we filled that, the Trump gap. Could I say that? The Grump trap? The Gump. We filled that gap today. So look at that. We filled that. This gray box, I'm going to remove it. So that would be something you would say, all right, somewhat bullish here short term. We got to support. See this little reversal, this possible hammer, you could almost say. But if you want to look longer term, let's go out to 2 years here. Something to keep an eye on is the momentum. Momentum is starting to wane. You see the momentum here? We're about to get a momentum sell signal, which over the last couple of years has been a good opportunity to get short the market. Recently, not so much, even going back to April of last year. We've had a lot of these fail. But prior to that has been a decent opportunity to get short the market, especially when we've had momentum so positive really since the election back in 2016. Let's look at the small caps, something else to keep an eye on because we're back in the channel again. That 138 level did not hold. We actually broke 137 today, which is something that we were bouncing off of all throughout the session. 137 was the level here. We kept bouncing off. You see this? 137, bounce, 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 bounce. And then late in the day, broke through. We had a relief bounce. But if you look again, we are now back in the channel again. So we could possibly be looking at a move back to about 133.60, 133.50 here, get us back to support. And then we can maybe make that maneuver back up to the 140 plus new all-time highs. Of course, when we fall down to 132.50, that'll be the end of the bull market. Everybody calling the top yet again. You look at the QQQ here, we're getting ready for a big breakout of this wedge. Is it going to be higher? Is it going to be lower? Again, momentum looks like we could get a sell signal here, which maybe we'll start to see the QQQ fade a little bit. The leader will be Apple. Now, if you look at Apple's chart, looks like a nice little flag going on. Look at that flag. Does that look nice or what? We're kind of consolidating here. We saw some weakness last week, but it was bought right up. The bids step right in to lift Apple up. We're up right here. We closed, less than $1 away from new all-time record highs on Apple. So all things considered, if Apple can lift this market higher, get to new record highs, just another shrug of the shoulders will be the action that we saw the last 5 trading days. Some stocks also to watch. Longer term, Caterpillar. I know Caterpillar has a lot of stuff going on, investigations, but the stock kind of just shrugging it off. And look at this. Meeting resistance here over the last couple weeks for Caterpillar. This resistance goes back, all the way back to the move off the lows in 2009. Actually broke through it. I think the high was about 114. But if you look here, this pattern, possible W pattern that could lift Caterpillar to 100 plus again, and make a move like we're seeing with John Deere. You can see this breakout that we've had for Deere. So Caterpillar, one to watch. Again, shrugging off the negative news last week. I think an analyst came out late in the trading day today. That's what helped lift the stock. Hello! That's a lift. If this spike lasts longer than 4 hours, consult your financial advisor. No, and you can see it again, kind of the flag started to break out. You probably think 96 plus if the trading day was extended another hour or two. And another chart here, Domino's Pizza. Yeah, it looks very bullish, but I think what's going to happen here, Domino's Pizza, a lot of these names that had a lot of debt, you're going to start to see them pull back because interest rates are going to rise. So corporations today trying to raise a lot of capital, taking advantage of low interest rates. Domino's Pizza has done that throughout their history. The last 2015 and 2012 were actually these recapitalizations, something that you normally don't see from a large corporation, financially sound one. And they used a lot of that debt, the new issuances, to repay old debt. The 2015 was to repay the 2012 debt. And they also issued a one-time shareholder dividend. Here you go. And that's going to come back to haunt them, especially since they're using the capital to buy back stock of their own at record high prices. Another thing to keep in mind is that as we get this possible inflation, interest rates start to rise, wages are going to start to rise. And Domino's Pizza has been operating in somewhat of nirvana because prices for cheese and sauce and whatever else they use has been pretty stagnant. Wages, stagnant. So pretty much everything's been stagnant. The cost of capital has been at record lows. And they're just popping up stores all over the place. But when those stores start to not be as profitable for those store owners and they start closing shop, revenue will decline. And the hint, the whiff, the smell, the scent, the minute there's the slight bit of smoke emanating from Domino's Pizza and the growth starts to slow, this stock is going to plummet. But that day has not come just yet. However, I do think we're at least short-term positioned for a pullback. I am at least the 185 puts. Ha! Budweiser, same thing here. Budweiser, nice little bear flag here. Earnings came out. We had a nice bounce today. We saw it really after the earnings report. It was down to 105 and change, bounced up to 108. Down to 106 this morning, bounce, but all in the midst of this bear flag. I think it's going to break 105, head to 100, possibly back into the 90s. Right now I got the 105 puts for March. Might go out to April, May, June. We'll see how it goes, but I do think this flag's going to break to the downside, and Budweiser is going to break 100. It's going to be a nice trade to the downside. How about Baidu? I've been talking about this for a while. Look from the long-term chart. You can go all the way back. This wedge is about to break. Which way is it going to go? Are we going to come down to support and bounce? Are we just going to plummet here? Or are we going to just break higher? If you look longer term, look at this chart. This beautiful action. Something that makes you think possibly this move is going to be the upside and maybe we'll come down to test the support is the move we saw off the 2009 lows. Look at this. Came down to test support and then we rocketed higher. Well, we had somewhat of a fake breakout, a false breakout in the middle of 2015. But we're consolidating here, much like we were back from 2010 to 2013 before we broke. Look at this candle. That is going to be a promising candle. If that does indeed happen here to the upside, you're going to be looking at a move to about 220, 230 in the blink of an eye. A couple other charts to look at. The GOOGL. Short term, I think it's going to pull back. I got some puts. It was unbelievable today. If you go back to 2009 or 2010 even, to trade for a 1% pullback in Google with out-of-the-money options that expire in a couple trading sessions, you're going to pay for it. Today, 50, 60 cents. It's almost as if the market knows Google is not moving anywhere the next couple trading sessions. We'll see if that's the case. Came up against resistance here. I think it's going to pull back to at least 840 and change. And also, Google is something else to watch for, momentum. starting to wane. We got a nice sell signal on a momentum. If I bring up the NASDAQ, I did the NASDAQ possible sell signal momentum. Look, the IWM already got the sell signal, and we've been pulling back. Now, if you go back to November, IWM was the first to turn. We got a momentum buy signal, and it was the first to turn. It turned the Friday before the election when everything else was down for 9 straight days. Small caps was the first to turn the ship around, and the rally was intense and furious. Now, the same thing's happening here, except the inverse. So far, the small caps are the first to lead this market lower. How much lower? Is this it? Possibility that this sell-off is done today. But I do think a lot of things are pointing towards possibly more downside. We have the more lows being made than highs. We have momentum waning. We have the late day sell-offs coming. And we have Carl Icahn, who is telling us to sell at SPY 180. Again, saying this market's gotten a little ahead of itself. We'll see if that is indeed the case. So it's UPB here, optionmillionaires.com. Trading again for some downside in Google, Budweiser. We'll see if we get some more continued downside for this market. If it's short-lived, a lot of things going on. We have the CIA and WikiLeaks revealing some of the, hide your microphones. Don't. We're gonna have to start doing sign language to communicate with each other so that nobody can hear what we're saying. All right, UPB. I'll see you in the chat room at optionmillionaires.com. Everyone have a great evening.